Welcome to this channel. Today I like to share with you how to avoid a serious disaster when one study traditional Chinese martial art, or get out from this serious disaster if one already within it. So in past 1 week, I have discussed with many traditional Chinese martial art friends, Wing Chun friends, and friends who read my books. And what I found out is most of these friends is living in a vacuum, living in their own mind. They don't see what is reality. This is a serious problem. This is a serious, or I should call it a disaster in traditional Chinese martial arts education in past 80 years at least, when traditional Chinese martial art get to the West. So, in the past few decades, like 5 decades since 1970, when you see all this kung fu movie come out and so forth, that enhanced the disaster, enhanced people to live in vacuum. The mentality after watching those type of videos or movies is, I am better than you, I can beat you, I know it too, I have this secret techniques, and then I am an expert too. There's the mentality when one lives in vacuum. Another side of the problem when one lives in the vacuum is one talk about hand techniques, like in the video, in the movie. One talk about Fa Jing, Qi, all those magical stuff. And yet, one have no sense of reality. So, what is reality? Reality is, we like it or not, combat, fighting, sparring is a momentum game, impulse momentum game. We like it or not, it is an impulse momentum game. So, as we all know, General Qigong 460 years ago already summarized the entire thing. Fighting is a momentum game. But you look at today, when people talk kung fu, they talk hand techniques, they talk it, I know it better than you, I have this secret, I have this internal stuff. You go check around. In the past 80 years, how many people really talk about momentum? And yet, momentum is there. Since 460 years ago in the General Qigong writing, and so on. And people don't see it. People just see whatever they like to see, living within the vacuum. Or this hand techniques, this qi, this I can have this force, this mind power. Okay? So, somebody even get as far as, when I mention momentum, he said, you know, you need to prove scientifically, have a control group, have this Chinese martial art group, or people who don't practice Chinese martial art, you compare them and you prove that they have momentum and all kind of stuff. You know what is that? Off topic. I know why they talk that way. They talk that way is just trying to show that they are expert, they try to argue, but in fact they have no idea what is going on. in terms of physics and or science or the traditional Chinese martial art or the reality of fighting. They have no idea. They are like people who reading a comic book or a fiction or a novel or a sci-fi model and start talking about all kinds of stuff, have all kinds of ideas. So trapped in the vacuum. Now, so what to watch out? The watch out is how to handling momentum. If we never know how to handling momentum, forget about it. We never practice any real Chinese Kung Fu. You look at all our friends in Western boxing, in Thai boxing, in BJJ, in MMA, everybody at every instant when they get into their training gym, they are dealing with momentum. Okay? So, you look around. Who talk about momentum in past 80 years in traditional Chinese martial arts? Books or videos. Now, if people don't talk about that, and living in the vacuum, a vacuum which is have no momentum, no imposed momentum, but as you like it. Like in the movie, you see the movie, I have this move, I will do this move, I have this power, I'll do this power. How are you going to face the reality of MMA? Like today, Xi Xiaodong asking everybody, what is your traditional Chinese martial art do? So this is this serious. It's like keeping talking about swimming, but nobody have ever go down to the water and see what it is in the water. So, to make it short, momentum, to deal with momentum, at least one need to know the depth of the momentum, yes. One need to know the background momentum, yes. One need to know the recycling of momentum, yes. If one don't know this, one not be able to function. Then you ask me, why is Western boxer have this thing? Yes, they do have it. They don't talk about this way. They do have it. They know how to handle this. And seriously, since years ago, I defined the depth of momentum in the basic Wing Chun art and science books. Okay? So, the depth of momentum or the momentum depth is defined as the depth of the incoming high momentum strike can penetrate. So, the depth of momentum is meaning that this momentum, how deep it can penetrate. How deep it can penetrate. That is the depth of momentum. Background momentum, as in Wing Chun matrix, background momentum is defined as one's initial momentum and one's self-generated opposition which is not helping one instead of oneself. Meaning that your initial momentum and the momentum you generate yourself. That's the background momentum. Recycling momentum is as in the restricting Wing Chun. One need to be able to recycle one's momentum. Without knowing this, how is one supposed to handle this momentum? You want to strike out. You want to know how deep you want to go. Not just standing there and doing your punch, or your qi, or your all those using your yi, not using your strength. And when the opponent strike you, you need to know how deep that momentum go into you at high speed. Whether how deep it is, it has to know, because you need to justify how you're going to respond to that momentum. It's like if a bull run into one, okay, compare with a baby run into one, there is a different momentum depth there. If one have no idea of that and keeping thinking hand techniques, it's called hopeless. Background momentum. You want to dash out, you need to know your inertial momentum. You need to know at your situations that is your body is aiding your dash out, or your body have some self-generate momentum, which is actually counter yourself, which you have to dealing with. Recycling momentum. When you dash out, you need to handle or recycle the momentum, or else you become what? Become like the out of control car. The entire car is just spin off out of the road. So, in the vacuum, in the movie, there is no such thing. There is no oppositions in momentum, there is no depth of momentum, there is no background momentum, there is no recycling momentum. You do whatever you want. Well, it's a movie, it's a fantasy, it's living in a vacuum. So one can keep practicing that way and keep argue with like a lawyer for 10 billion years. One still do not have idea on what is traditional Chinese martial art. In fact, one already stuck within the disaster. Seriously, many of our friends who read my book, they have all kinds of opinion. But as soon as they tell me about their opinion, I know they have no idea of the momentum. And in fact, just learning about the momentum here, where you cannot learn anywhere, that worth a lot of money. Compare with you go to study with this grandmaster, get grandmaster, and the grandmaster of the vacuum. Okay? Without knowing this, one will not be able to face the reality of fighting in MMA, in Western boxing, in BJJ, in Thai boxing. One will have no idea at all what is going on. So, like in the past few weeks, we have friends who using the Red Bull training band. 5 minutes. One will find out that when you want to dash out your leg, your weight in the back leg doesn't work. Because the band is going to pull you back while you try to get forward, but you do not have the depth of momentum go forward. You have no idea on your background momentum. Not to mention that you will not be able to recycle momentum because you're keeping one to put your weight on the back leg. Okay? And our friends find out that hand techniques, when you're using this band, if you use a wrong hand technique which is not synchronized or supported by your momentum handling, you will have shoulder issue, or this issue or that issue is stuck there. Okay? And also those one step, one technique stuff doesn't work. Those kind of footwork, like, oh, I want to have this footwork and then I do this technique. It doesn't work because the band is going to pull you out. So the Red Bull training band is actually get one without any theory and without any what do you call it, intelligence thinking right away into the momentum. It's like instead of talking swimming, theory on swimming, one get down to the water. This is water if you want to swim. You can go in the land, you can say, I have to wave my hand this way, I have to kick my leg this way. You can talk everything you want, but that's still in the land, that's not in the water, that's in the vacuum. Get down into the water. Okay? So, thus, living in the vacuum where one ignore or have no idea completely on momentum, the depth of the momentum, background momentum, and recycle momentum, that is the disaster of traditional Chinese martial arts. Look around. How many keeping talking about, I have to do this pose, that pose, this technique, that techniques, this qi, that qi, yet have no idea on all this thing. How are you going to play even with a 3-month-old Western boxer friend? You can. So this is what I'd like to share with you today. Unless one knows this, that's hopeless. There's no future. Just face it. So I'm not here to put down people. I'm here to say, hey, there's a hole there in front of the highway. A hole there. You want to drive inside there? You know what is the consequence. And if you're trapped in the hole for past 80 years, you know you're going to get nowhere. So, why waste the time? Why waste the life? Why waste the energy for that? And also, when you read my book, this is all momentum-based book because it's based on traditional Chinese martial art classic. Do not read it as the people who taught 10 techniques only. Like in the movie, Wing Chun only have this Tan Pong Fuk techniques. Forget about it. Those are living in the vacuum. You will not be able to see what is the reality. And what you want is a reality, not two people there showing you, oh, this is the Tan techniques, can do this and that, like the Prodigal Son Wing Chun movie. Those are vacuum. When those stuff facing a 3-month-old Western boxer, you can see that what is living in a vacuum means. So it is very critical. Get out from that vacuum, or else it is wasting of life.